Hey, what's up, my friends? Welcome to the live stream. Thursdays is now the new day for the live stream, so this is with the second one, or is this the first one? Maybe the second one. I think this is the second Thursday we started doing this. Previous Thursdays have been pretty busy. Last Thursday I was kind of sick and stuff like that, so we didn't do it then. But we're here now, here to hang out, answer your questions about the Army, talk about other stuff if you want to, just as long as it's not politics, because I don't care about politics. I don't like talking about politics. So we got some individuals from the notification platoon that were quick and on it to get into the chat. Some of you guys before the stream even started, such as Caliber and Easton, and then Josh. But we also we got Quentin, we got Alan, we got Lovable Xena, we got Seth, we got Shane, Sabrina, Steve, American Metalhead. We've got Logan. So awesome. Thank you guys for coming to hang out with me on this Thursday evening. So, what do we got going on inside of the chat? Oh, by the way, if you didn't see on Instagram, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should. You should go to Instagram, search for ChristopherChaos, and you'll find me. Or you can go to @ThatChrisChaos. But this guy here, if you haven't seen me posting about it on Instagram, I got this fun little book that teaches you how to mess with your NCOs when you get in the Army. Or if you're already in the Army, it teaches you how to mess with them. How, you might ask? Well, if you look, the pages are actually blank, so the book alone messes with them because they see the cover of it and they're like, oh man, how are you gonna mess with me? Well, it's just a fancy notebook that I created, right? And you can get these on Amazon. So if you go on Amazon and you search for Christopher Chaos, it's actually the first result. So if you go to Amazon, search for Christopher Chaos, you'll see right here, first result. How to Mess with Your NCOs and Get Away with It, a Notebook for Soldiers by Christopher Chaos. So there you go. I highly recommend it. It's a great read. It's a great book, right? So definitely check that out, right? Available on Amazon Prime, I guess. So that's pretty cool and everything. So definitely check that out. I got more coming that I'm working on. I got a new one that'll probably go live, I think tomorrow, maybe, I think. We'll see. It has to go through like this little review process or whatever, but I think tomorrow it should be live, and it's a new one that'll be on there. And then I got some more that I'm working on as well. So there's several others I want to make for these cool notebooks, because when you're in the Army, you got to take notes all the time. You go to class, you have to go to some kind of briefing, something. You got to have something to write on. Why not have an awesome notebook from Christopher Chaos to mess with people? They're all going to have funny titles like this, some kind of funny thing that looks like some kind of legit manual, but it's really just a notebook for you to take notes inside of. So that's the idea behind it. I got a lot of other ones like E4 Mafia books and all sorts of other funness. So we'll hit up the chat. What kind of chat questions do you guys have inside of here? You're on now. What happened to Sundays? Yeah, this is the new schedule. So Thursdays is the new schedule. Off on the weekends, I guess. Unless sometimes we want to do some random fun streams. But for the most part, usually nothing on the weekends. Are you going to watch the Super Bowl? Yeah, I'll probably be watching it over at a friend's house. So me and the girlfriend and the baby will be hanging out over at a friend's house to watch the Super Bowl. What's up, Chris? I'm thinking about MOS 31 Delta in the Army. What advice do you have or do you recommend? 31 Delta, is that the dog handler one? Right? Is that what it is? I don't know. I'll look it up right now. But I believe if that's what it is, it's a tough MOS to get into. I've never known anybody that did that MOS. It seems like it'd be really cool, especially if you're a dog lover. But from what I've seen, it looks like it's really tough to get into. Absolutely love the intro. Awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah, so that's right now. I'm using the intro also on the gaming one. I need to get off my ass and re-edit a new one for the gaming one, so it's not the same for both, and that's the only intro for Chaos Live for the Thursday live streams, and there's a different one for the gaming one. Hopefully I get off my ass this weekend, and then by next Monday, for Modern Warfare Monday, I'll have a new one for you guys. What's up, Evie? How's it going? Hey, Chris, leaving for basic on Monday. Any last minute tips? Not really. I mean, hopefully you're in good shape. Just, someone else asked me this before, like maybe a week ago or something like that, where they were getting ready to head off to basic, and they were wanting to know if I had any last minute tips. The only thing I can tell you is just prepare for it to suck, all right? If you go into it and you're like just preparing for it to be the worst thing you've ever done, and then it turns out to be kind of fun, well then cool. You get some kind of, enjoyment out of it, and it turns out to be better than you thought. But if you go into it thinking, oh, this is gonna be a piece of cake, oh, this is gonna be fun, and then it turns out to suck really bad, then that makes it worse. So I usually recommend to go into it thinking everything's gonna suck, it's gonna be horrible, it's gonna be miserable, but you gotta tough it out, you gotta get through it. It's only basic training. The Army changes, you know, the lifestyle of basic training is not what to expect when you get into the Army, all right? So don't base, there's some people I've heard like sending messages or whatever saying that, oh, I just went through basic training that sucked really bad, maybe the Army isn't for me. That's not your Army experience. Don't base it off of basic training. Wait until you've been at your unit for several months, maybe a year or whatever, then base that experience off of what the Army might be like in some ways. But don't base it off basic training. So just go into basic training, expect it to suck really bad. Hopefully it doesn't suck as bad as you think it's going to, and then it turns out to be kind of fun in some areas here and there. So that's usually my advice. What's happening, Doug the Eliminator? What's up, man? Holy shit, that's gonna get me smoked. Maybe, or they think it's funny, and then you tell them all about where to get other ones, because I'm gonna make some for NCOs as well, like how to care for your new private and something like that. Something that looks like an instruction manual for taking care of soldiers or whatever, like as if they're like a new stereo or something like that. So that's an idea for another one I'll probably make that it's more geared towards NCOs. So, you know, you just let them know, hey, this is mine. You know, if you want to get your own, go to Amazon and look for ThatChrisChaos. He's got a bunch of extra other ones. Thank you for service, Chris. Well, thank you, Lear. Appreciate that. So, Chris, thinking about joining ML. I already just said that one. Opal as well, brother. Thanks, P. Will. What's happening, man? Long time no see. Everybody check out P. Will later if you want to check out YouTube videos. Right? He's got some great stuff. I don't remember. It's been a little bit. I haven't caught up with some of my other favorites from fellow Army YouTubers and stuff like that. So I haven't checked out your stuff in a long time. I'm sorry, man. I'm not sure if you've been creating recently or not, but I've been bad about that and have not been checking out some of my fellow Army YouTubers to show some support. But much love, P. Will. Seth says, "Go Chiefs." All right. And, you know, I'm not really a 49ers fan or a Chiefs fan or anything like that. Chiefs are kind of the Raiders' rival. Even though I don't really watch football that much, I root for the Raiders, but I don't really watch football that much to really know much about like who's doing what and who's doing good and who's doing bad or whatever. I'm probably going to root for the 49ers just because I'm from California, so I'll probably root for the 49ers. 31 Delta is CID. Yeah, so that one is a fairly difficult MOS to get into as well. I thought it was the dog handler one, but yeah, 31 CID one is usually pretty difficult. I think they usually prefer you because you can't go directly into that MOS. I think you have to start off being like an MP or something else and then put in a packet to go CID. You can't just go directly into the Army as a 31 Delta. I think didn't I do an MOS Monday on that MOS? Hey Chris, give a shout out to Lolly and Pop's Custom Pins on Facebook. I'll have to check it out. Is that where the pin came from? If you guys didn't see, I posted an Instagram story. I didn't post anything like on Instagram or anything like that as an actual photo, but Doug the Eliminator was awesome enough. He sent me a cool pin that's like bolt action. It's pretty badass. It's upstairs. My girlfriend has been using it actually. She says it writes awesomely. So it's an awesome pin. I'll have to check out Lollipop's Custom Pins on Facebook though, and check out their site. Maybe have some pins made from them or something. I don't know. I'll check it out. Did life suck as a freshly new private? Wait, did life suck as a freshly new private suck? Does it get better as it goes on? Yeah. I mean, when you're a brand new soldier, you're private, you get stuck with a lot of really crappy details. You get stuck, you know, getting yelled at sometimes. Not like it is in basic training, but you know, you do get treated a little bit differently as a new soldier, as a new private. But as you start building a little bit of seniority, you start building a bit of rank, you start building up that experience, not screwing up so much, because you probably screw up right at the beginning because you don't know any better, you're still learning. And then it starts getting a little bit better and things start to improve. So yeah, it does suck for a little bit while you're pretty low on the totem pole or low in the rankings, but it does get better eventually. So just got to keep your head up and, do good, all that stuff, right? Have you ever dated or seen someone date another soldier? I have never dated another soldier. I've known some people, yes, that have been in relationships with other soldiers. Works okay. The only thing that kind of becomes an issue is there has been times I've known where a soldier has dated another soldier that's like in their same company or their same troop or whatever, and then things don't work out, and now it's really awkward because you still see that person all the time. So it's kind of like trying to date someone at work. It can become awkward, right? So you just have to kind of watch out for those kind of things. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it works out okay. Do you think dating another soldier is a bad idea? I think maybe if it's in your platoon, it probably is. In your company is still kind of a risky thing too, but in general, no, I don't think so. Still at AIT. My drill sergeant has to open the package once I get it. I'm for sure gonna have a fun time with that one. That'll be pretty good. Yeah, I don't have a. I probably won't make one for a basic training one because that's a really smaller niche where I want to make it better for the notebooks to be more something you can use throughout your Army career for several years, not just during that specific time for basic training. So yeah, that one will work. There's even the next one will be a pretty funny one. I think that one will probably be a funnier one for like if you received it in basic training. So, but yeah, that would be pretty good. There's some other ideas for other books that I'll make. So they'll all be funny, kind of funny notebooks. It'll be kind of fun to have sitting at your desk or whatever, and then, you know, while you're in a class, you know, maybe because sometimes you have these little classes you have to go do that the Army sends you to, or that your NCOs send you to, and it'd be kind of funny to have one of these funny notebooks sitting there you're taking notes with. So, but yeah, you have to let me know how it goes if you do that. What's up, Chris? It's been a minute. What's happening, Shane? How's it going, man? Is there any organizations for teenagers interested in enlisting? JROTC is a high school program. That's a pretty good one if your high school offers it. Otherwise, I don't know what their age requirement is for the Future Soldier program, but that's another thing you can talk to recruiters about, where you can kind of get a little bit of a head start and start learning about the Army, do some PT with them a little bit, and kind of start learning about Army PT, and that can be very helpful. And I think that if you do a certain amount of time in the Future Soldier program, you can possibly be able to come into the Army as a E2, I believe. So, yeah. When you join ROTC, how do you choose your job after college? For the most part, officers are kind of just assigned their job. It's not like enlisted. Enlisted soldiers get to pick their job. Officers, if you're doing really well in ROTC and you do really well in the tests and everything like that, sometimes you can pick the branch, but not the specific job itself. So that usually means that that, you know, if you want to pick the criminal justice, you know, branch, well, it's not really called that. It's like the, you know, the military police branch or whatever it's called. I forget what it's called, but you can pick that particular branch, and you may end up being a, you know, working with MPs or working with other kind of things in that field. Or if you pick the transportation branch, then you could be working with trucks or trains or whatever. So usually if you're top, like in the certain percentage or whatever, you can pick the branch that you're going to, but not the specific job. Then everybody else just gets stuck with what the Army needs you to be in. So officers works a little bit differently. So the thing is, I want to join Special Forces or 1ID, and then after that, I would try to go through 31 Bravo MP, then try to get into CID, but some say MOS changing takes a lot of paperwork and stress. It does. One key thing to note, that if you wanted to do Special Forces and then go 31 Bravo, that's kind of a downgrade. You wouldn't want to do it backwards that way, because Special Forces is pretty high up, right? It's really hard to get into Special Forces and really hard to get selected and go through all of that. And then if you go and you go through all that and you made it into the Special Forces, and then you want to leave that to try to go 31 Bravo, that's kind of a downgrade. So you'd probably want to, if anything, start off as an MP, and then if you still want to, you know, pursue Special Forces after that, then pursue Special Forces. But you wouldn't want to go from Special Forces down to being an MP. Not saying like MPs are like, you know, low level or something like that, but, you know, that's like going from being, you know, a really high honcho in a corporate industry to all of a sudden going down to being one of the worker bees, right? It's not really the way you'd kind of do the path. You should play some In Flames in the background. So I can't do anything copyrighted, otherwise it populates with a copyright. Not like a strike, but it makes it to where some countries my live stream wouldn't be viewable. It would also make it to where I couldn't earn any revenue off the stream. So all the music comes from Epidemic Sounds, and that's a service that I use, that I pay a subscription to, that I get royalty-free music from. And so all my music comes from that, and so that way I can just have royalty-free music playing in the background without getting any kind of copyright notice. What is better, the National Guard or regular Army? Please don't say they're both good. Well, I'm gonna say regular Army because I was regular Army, but I think it really depends on what it is you want to do. Do you want a full-time job or do you want a part-time job? Because I can't really say one's better than the other, you know, to the full extent, right? It depends on what you want to do, right? If you want a full-time job, well, then regular Army's better, right? If you only want a part-time job because you want to go to school or you want to do another job, well, then National Guard or Reserves is better. So it depends on what you want to do. So if full-time job or do you want a part-time job? How were your push-ups before and after basic training? They were really, really crappy before basic training, and then they were decent after. I was never really that great at push-ups. I was okay, I guess. I wasn't really a super stud on push-ups. My strengths were sit-ups, where I was pretty good at, and I was decent at the run. I think push-ups were probably my weakest, because I wasn't really super strong at upper body. I'm still not, or anything like that, but I'm probably at pretty poor shape, because I haven't done a push-up in a long-ass time, but before basic, I was really bad, really horrible at push-ups. But I got better, you know, through doing a lot of PT and a lot of practice and, you know, working out and everything that you do in basic training to where I got, you know, up to standards. Nothing amazing or anything like that, but, you know, I was able to exceed the standards and do all right. But yeah, sit-ups were probably always my strongest. Stupid copyright, it happens. Can you do a video on going from active duty to reserves? I could probably. I feel like a better person to do that would be Ben Allen. If you haven't checked out Ben Allen's channel, he was an active duty medic, and he got out for a few months and then decided to go back in to the reserves, and so now he has that experience. Now, he didn't go directly from active duty to reserves. He got out for a little bit, decided he wanted to go back in, and then went reserves. So check out his channel. I don't know if he has any. I think he might have a video that he talks on the topic. I'm not sure on that though, but for the most part, like if you do active duty and your contract ends, usually it's a requirement to go talk to the reserve recruiter that they usually have on base, and you have to do that part for clearing. And like for me, when I went through and I was getting out of the Army, I had to go talk to the reserve recruiter, and he tried talking me into the reserves, and he made me think about it for a day, and I had to come back the next day for him to sign off my paperwork because I had to have his signature to clear me, right, to get out of the Army and everything like that. You have to do multiple stations all throughout post and through your unit before you get out of the Army, or even before you leave your unit sometimes too. And that was one of the stops I had to do, and so I had to think about it for a day. I wasn't interested in the reserves, but came back the next day and told him, no, I'm not interested in the reserves. And he's like, okay, well, give me a call if you are, and then, you know, signs off my paperwork. But if I was, it would just simply be a direct transition of, you know, if I want to wait a little bit or go directly in, and then, you know, they assign for my next drill weekend, you know, what unit I'm going to go to, if I'm going to go to a nearby unit or whatever. And so it's a fairly easy process. It can be tricky, I believe, if you get out for too long, and then you have to try to get a unit that has your slot for your MOS. So then that kind of gets a little bit trickier. Usually it's fairly easy if you're doing it directly, but if you wait a little bit, sometimes I think it can get a little tricky. Go active duty, it's either all in or nothing. Yeah, sometimes. I think so. Just depends on what you're after, right? You want a part-time or you want a full-time job? How long did it take to get your first leave? Well, I took leave right after AIT, but that was because it was close to Christmas. And so sometimes people don't get that option and they have to wait a little bit until they get to the first unit. And sometimes it depends on what holidays are coming up. 4th of July, a lot of times is a big one that a lot of the units will have like a 2-week time frame, sometimes around 4th of July, sometimes not. Sometimes you have to wait until a different holiday or a different time in the summer. Summertime is usually pretty big on block leave area, which is when you get to take leave, because the unit blocks off a certain time frame where they're not going to have any kind of key training. So that's a time where they're allowed to maximize, and a lot of people are allowed to take leave for that particular unit. They usually offset it between different units and everything. It's not everybody all at the same time, but that allows you to take leave. So it just kind of depends sometimes on when you get to that unit. But for me, I was able to take leave right after AIT for 2 weeks, but then I also got an additional 2 weeks for hometown recruiting. So if you get that option, that is the way to go. Definitely try to get hometown recruiting. Usually your drill sergeants will ask you if you're interested in it when you're in AIT. I definitely recommend taking it because it's free leave and it gives you a little bit extra time back home if you get a chance to do so. What type of music do you like? Do you like classic metal or classic rock? I am a guitarist and I hope I can have a chance to play inside the dorms while in the Army. I'm a metal fan, I guess. I like some of the classic hard rock stuff. You know, my all-time favorite metal band or rock band, I guess depends on how you look at it, is Metallica. I don't really listen to a lot of Metallica anymore like I used to in high school, but I like a lot of those bands like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Motley Crue, Alice in Chains, those kind of bands, Megadeth. But it's not really as much of what I really listen to now. Now I listen to a little bit more heavier music like Parkway Drive, Motionless in White, Miss May I, Falling in Reverse. Those kind of bands are usually my go-to right now. So I like a lot of those ones too. But you know, I'm a fan of anything that's got instruments. And as far as like playing guitar in the dorms, you can do that, or the barracks really is what it's called. But in the barracks, yeah, you can do that. I did that all the time. You know, you sometimes got to keep it down, right? Because people complain maybe. I had headphones. Sometimes if I want to play really loud, maybe I'll put headphones on. Sometimes during the middle of the day on the weekends, it's not that big of a deal. But at night, you know, you can't really be like jamming out really hard. But you know, some people thought it was cool. I remember I got out of a room inspection pretty much because the first sergeant and my platoon sergeant came through. So I had my guitar right there, like on the little nightstand that I had with my amp, and they're like, "Oh, go ahead and play something for us." While they were doing it, they were coming through the barracks and doing a room inspection, and so I played a little Metallica riff, and they thought it was cool, and they didn't really even pay attention to how clean my room was or how dirty my room was. My room was good, but they didn't really pay attention, and they just moved on to the next room. So I kind of got out of a room inspection because they were too distracted with checking out my guitar and checking out my little Metallica riff that I played for them. So it was good. I'm an 11 X-ray. How do they decide if I'm going to be an 11 Charlie or an 11 Bravo? I'm not 100% sure. From what I've heard from some individuals, sometimes it's really just based on what they need. So if they have like a roster that says that, hey, we need this many 11 Bravos and this many 11 Charlies, usually a higher percentage are 11 Bravos. So they're going to maybe, you know, choose a certain percentage of soldiers maybe at random sometimes. Sometimes they evaluate it based on certain things here and there, but then they decide that, you know, you're going to be this. But for 100% sure, I'm not 100% sure on how they decide it. I've heard for the most part from some people that it seemed pretty random. So, did you ever do anything similar to that during your time at AIT? What was the part one? Hey, little baby. How's it going? You know, do a live stream. You want to come say hi? Say it right there. Wave to the camera. Go hi. Hi, people. No? You want to say hi, people? You want to answer questions? Uh-huh. Yeah? I didn't see what part one of that question was. Oh, the one thing that... was the camera? Is right there. One thing might be challenging to answer, but when I'm out with my other AIT students, with someone's mess with each other, saying things like, thank you for your service, when they hold open...
Daddy, my teeth is gonna come out.
Oh no! Did you ever have anything similar to that? Not really anybody I'm messing with you. You said messing with you?
Look.
They're asking, you know, saying thank you for your service or whatever. You might get that occasionally. I didn't seem like a whole lot. Modern metal, nice, great music. Awesome, thank you. What?
Look at me.
Yeah, you see yourself on the TV? Yeah.
You're right holding me.
Yeah. Is that daddy holding little baby? You don't want to say hi? Say hi.
My teeth is hurting.
Your teeth are hurting?
I can't say hi.
You can't say hi because your teeth are hurting?
Yeah, I can't say hi when my teeth is hurting.
Yeah, oh no. What are you going to do?
That singing make my teeth hurt.
The microphone's going to make your teeth hurt?
But that singing makes my teeth hurt.
Yeah. I don't know how the microphone's going to make your teeth hurt, but...
Look at me.
Yeah. I only had 2-year enlistment from 82 to 84, only made E3 in that time. Yeah, I know like that's a big thing, like the soldiers who were in during like the 80s and 70s and everything like that. A lot more people only had short term.
Like that.
Yeah. That's like even like my uncle. My uncle, he was only in the Army for like 4 years or something like that. I think he only got to E4 to specialist.
She did it when she did it.
Yeah. What is she doing? Is she playing with her teeth right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Make sure to hit that like button, join the Chaos Army.
No, I'm playing in my nose.
Oh, I think I'm an E4 promotable right now. Exactly. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that like button.
You give Daddy a hug so we can go to bed?
Oh, you gotta go to bed and go night-night?
Time to go to bed, babe.
Daughter Chaos, future Army soldier.
Give hugs, say goodnight.
You want to say goodnight to everybody? Say goodnight.
No.
Right there. Why?
Can mommy take you?
Uh-huh.
Okay, can I have a kiss and hug? Thank you. What about kisses?
Oh, give daddy a big kiss.
Mwah. Love you.
He said, love you.
Love you.
See you later.
I'm gonna go sleep in your bed.
You're gonna go sleep in my bed? Okay.
Say goodnight.
Night.
Good night.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a microphone. She's so crazy. Do I like punk rock? Punk rock's good. I mean, some of it anyways, like Sum 41, kind of your more mainstream punk rock, I guess. I'm not really a big punk rock fan. They offered me E4 if I re-enlisted, but I had a good job waiting at home. Did a year in the reserves afterwards. It's a good way to go. Leave Fort Jackson on February 18th. 25 Lima. Christopher, you're the best Army YouTuber. You're the best. Well, the best person in the comments and fans and stuff. Thank you. Appreciate it, though. That's awesome. Good luck to you at Fort Jackson. Chris, how would you honestly react if she told you she wanted to join the Army? That'd be okay. You know, if that's really what she wanted to do. Make sure she's educated about it, of course. You know, make sure it's something that she really wants to do. But if it's something that she really wants to do, I wouldn't mind. I don't care too much. She should pursue what she wants to pursue. Yeah, I know. She has your daughter. Yeah, I knew you meant. You are a hero, by the way, so thanks for serving. Well, thanks, American Metalhead. I appreciate that. I'm just here to help educate you guys and hopefully entertain you or whatever, right? And have some fun. Can I join as a 68 whiskey if I'm allergic to penicillin, sulfur, and I don't know what that other one is. I don't know 100% sure. Usually, probably. I don't know for sure though. You'd have to talk to a recruiter about that. MEPS would decide that. I don't see why not. I don't think that would be a problem and cause you to not be able to be that specific MOS, but I am not 100% sure. That's something you probably have to verify with like a recruiter and talk to a recruiter about that and see what they say. We gotta go, Chris. Good night. God bless, and thank you for your service. Well, thanks, American Metalhead. Thanks for stopping in. She's going to a future Navy SEAL, calling it. We'll see. Right now, her interests. I don't know what she's like right now leaning towards. Obviously, she's only like a little over. She's only almost 3. She's a few months away from being 3. I don't know. I don't know what she'll maybe be. Maybe a vet? No. I don't know. We'll have to see. Nothing really specific that she acts like just yet as like a possibility, you know, but obviously like nobody does really what they want to do when they were little. I think when I was really little, I think I wanted to be a wrestler. I wanted to be in the WWF or the WWE now, but then it was good the WWF. I wanted to be a wrestler. Obviously, nowhere is even close to that. What do you think of the OSIT extension? I think it's pretty good. I think it makes it to where you get better trained infantrymen to, you know, go to their units and be a little bit better trained rather than having to do additional training and have to do additional tasks to get on par with some of the other ones. So the extra training, I think, makes it a little bit better. Motionless in White has some awesome sound, just I hate the emo stuff. Yeah, sometimes if it gets too emo, it's kind of weird, but yeah, I like Motionless in White. I've seen them in concert once. They were really cool. You're the best, Chris. Thank you for service. You're a hero. Thanks. Oh, didn't you already say that earlier? Now you're just now you're just trying to make my ego all big. Chris, have a great night. Time for 60 days in later. Well, thanks, Doug. Thanks for coming to hang out. If you couldn't have done 88 Mike, what MOS would you have wanted? Actually, I didn't even want to do 88 Mike. I originally wanted to be a mechanic, but the MOS was not available to me because I had a red-green color blindness that did not qualify me for the MOS. So I got kind of stuck with a real small list of ones that were available based on my ASVAB scores, the fact that I had the red-green color blind, and just MOSs that had available slots at that time frame. So there was only like a few, maybe like 4 or 5, I think, MOSs they told me about that they had available based on the time frame when I was looking to ship out and based on what was just available for slots. And that one sounded like it sucked the least. So I was like, I could do that. I didn't want it. There was like Seamstress, I think it was one of them. bath and laundry specialist, which sets up like portable showers and laundry systems. And I forget what some of the other ones were, but transportation sounded like the one that sucked the least, so I was like, I'll do that one. So that wasn't even something I wanted, actually. Chris, were you ever a squad leader in basic? If so, how was it? I was not. The way they had squad leaders in basic training, they really just had us all alphabetical, and who ended up being at the very end of each squad based on how it kind of worked by the alphabet just ended up being the squad leader, and I don't think we ever changed it. I think those people were just squad leaders the whole entire time. A lot of times nowadays with basic training units, they will rotate through some different individuals, through different leadership roles, just to get a little bit of experience. But when I went through basic training, they didn't do that. It was just whoever happened to be based on alphabetical order on that end of the squad, they made those people the squad leaders, and that person got to be the squad leader. Unless that person eventually started sucking and was doing really bad, then they would probably switch it out with the next person next to him. If that person was okay, then they would switch it out with that person. So I was not on the end of the formation, so I didn't end up being a squad leader. So. And now I ended up being a squad leader and just being in the Army. I was a squad leader, I was a team leader, I was a section sergeant, I was a NCOIC for the ammunition for the whole entire squadron, all sorts of different roles. I've even been an acting first sergeant one time, acting platoon sergeant a few times, things like that. But in basic training, nope. One MOS is good for film and TV producer or politics. Two things I might want to get into. Politics I don't know about. But they have video ones. What is it? I forget what it's called now. What is it? A 25 Victor, right? You'd have to look it up. You'd have to, like, if you did a Google search or something for like some kind of video production MOS or video MOS in the Army or whatever. There's a MOS to be able to do combat camera kind of a thing. You're basically a documentary specialist or something like that. I forget what it's called. But they do stuff with cameras and produce like things and follow units around and create little high-speed videos for units and everything. What was your rank in the Army? I was a sergeant, but almost a staff sergeant. But because points are really hard, it's a really complicated story. But for my MOS, points were really high for staff sergeants. And then once I got to being a year out, if I wasn't going to re-enlist, I wasn't eligible anymore for even get promoted to staff sergeant. Or some ranks up to E5, you can get promoted before 6 months, 3 months before you get out of the Army. But staff sergeant, you have to have more than a year left in the Army. So once I got to a year left in the Army, I was no longer eligible to even get staff sergeant anyways. But points were super high to where I had to have like a college education to even get promoted. And I didn't have time to be going to college while I was still on active duty. So I got out as a E5 promotable, a sergeant promotable. I think it's funny when people ask parents what they think their kids want to be when they grow up. I always hear, I don't know, she's 3. Yeah, I mean, my daughter's almost 3. So, like I said, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do probably until I was like in my 20s. So, some people know right away what they want to do when they're at a younger age. Some people have to, get a little experience under their belt and then figure out what it is they want to do. Did I watch 68 Whiskey? I have not watched that yet. It looks like a really cool show. I need to check it out. When I was in basic, they made E3 and E4s the squad leaders at first, but later they started switching it around to the lower ranks and the shy soldiers. Yeah, so like our platoon sergeant was a prior service individual who was coming from the Navy into the Army. So that person was a specialist, and they made him our platoon sergeant. Some of the people were just by the alphabetical, but I believe there might have been a few of those people who were like E2s or E3s or something like that, and they made them be squad leaders if that was the case, but then the rest of them were just alphabetical. So like when I went through basic training, we didn't really have a whole lot of people that were coming in with rank. Pretty much all of us, it seemed like the majority of us were all E1s coming in, so we didn't have a whole lot of people like that. But yeah, otherwise, sometimes they'll do it that way too, based on rank. Squad leaders don't get like extra ribbons on their uniform or anything, do they? No. They just get a little bit of extra experience. Now, if you excel and do well, they might put you in for a waiver to get promoted early, maybe, in some cases. But otherwise, you don't get anything extra for doing that position, just extra responsibility sometimes. Did Did you say that you would get into video productions if you could go back in time? I'm either doing the Army or entering in movie sets. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really develop an interest in video production until I'd already been in the Army for about 2 years, I think it was, before I actually got interested in doing it. Like, I've told the story, I think, before, but it was while I was stationed in Korea. So I'd been in the Army for about 3 years, actually, probably. And I wanted to video some of like what the area looked like when I was in Korea and what I did in Korea. So I bought a video camera, I recorded some video around the area, and then I edited it on my laptop that I had with Windows Movie Maker, and I really enjoyed doing that. So then I started kind of messing around with doing other video stuff with that camera and, you know, editing and getting creative and everything. That's when I kind of started building an interest in video production. So I didn't actually start building an interest for that until I was already in the Army for about 3 years. But yeah, I mean, maybe if I was to go back in time, maybe it would have been funner to do something like that, do video production in the Army. That would have been fun. 68 Whiskey is an awesome show, but I don't think they could get away with all the weed smoking in real life. I haven't seen it. If they do a lot of weed smoking in real life, yeah, probably not. We would do a ton of urinalysis when I was in the Army. I felt like probably there was sometimes you would do like 3 a month sometimes. You know, sometimes you go maybe a couple months without, but definitely you did a lot in this time span of a year. It seemed like sometimes almost every month you were doing a urinalysis. It just kind of depends, you know, sometimes on the unit, but it seemed like we did a lot when I was in. So yeah, usually people don't get away with, you know, smoking marijuana in the Army. They usually get caught. And now when I was in the Army, back then, you know, they were a little bit more lenient in a way to where if you came up hot for like marijuana and certain other drugs, you just got an Article 15, which, you know, still sucks. You got reduced in rank all the way down to private and then have to do extra duty and everything like that. But now they're really strict on that stuff. So now they will kick you out of the Army for that kind of a thing. So now you get kicked out of the Army. I don't know if it's a dishonorable discharge or if it's other than honorable. I'm not really too sure. But a lot of people get kicked out of the Army now if you come up hot on a drug test. Hey Chris, what do you think about the MOS financial specialist? It's pretty good for like people who want to get into that kind of a thing. You know, you want to maybe get the experience in the Army and then get out and maybe work in HR, working as a financial individual, maybe working with payroll, maybe starting your own business or whatever. So I think it works out pretty good. You know, I've heard from a lot of people that did that MOS where it's a pretty, you know, can be a pretty chill job because you don't have to work in the motor pool. You're just working in an office all the time. So, you know, it depends on your interest. You know, if you're interested in that kind of stuff and you want to maybe use that to pursue some kind of career similar to that in the civilian world, and it's great, and you don't want to get your hands dirty, you don't want to be out in the motor pool all the time, then maybe that can be good. But if you're the kind of person that wants to, you know, be outside and do more activities outside, then maybe that wouldn't be a good MOS for you. It just depends, I guess. Heard the squad leaders are also chosen by the person's age. Is that true? I've seen it sometimes. I don't know if that's always a true thing. I've seen some people because they see that, hey, this person's an older person, that they want to make that person be a squad leader, be a platoon sergeant, because he's older or she's older than the other individuals in the platoon. So sometimes, yes. I don't know about always, though. Will you be playing the upcoming new edition of Resident Evil 3 Remake? Probably not. I mean, I like Resident Evil. They were a really cool game series. But right now, I'm pretty hooked on Modern Warfare, on Call of Duty. And especially like when it comes to my live streams, they're probably going to always be military related. But on the side, like things that I just play just for fun, I haven't really had a whole lot of time for playing those kind of games for just fun. But the last ones that I were playing in that was Days Gone. But I haven't played it in a while. I was playing Days Gone for a while, No Man's Sky, and Spider-Man and everything. But lately, the only thing I've been playing is Modern Warfare on the live streams, and then I haven't been playing any games on my personal time because I just don't really have time for it. Hey Chris, my name is Sergeant Mendoza. Thank you for your service. Be safe out there. Well, thanks, Joshua. Or Sergeant Mendoza. Appreciate it. What is the minimum service requirement for MOS with near year-long AIT, like 68 kilo? Sometimes those really long ones, they make you do like a 5-year or 6-year. For, you know, you'd have to talk to a recruiter for sure, but a lot of them I've seen, like, for example, the, 17 Charlie for cybersecurity. I think those ones have a minimum of a 6-year contract, and that's like practically a year-long AIT. So usually longer AITs, something like that, 5 or 6 year contracts. Can I get 68 whiskey, get a 3-year contract? I'm not 100% sure. 3-year contracts can be really difficult to get. Those can be challenging. Usually the most common ones are 4-year contracts, and then above. Less than 4 years is a pretty tricky thing to kind of get sometimes, and they have special circumstances to be able to allow you to do that. So that can be really tough. If you can't pass the 19 Delta or any MOS PT test, will they reclass you and kick you out of the Army? So you're talking about like for the new ACFT? So like you have the different standards. Like the standards are actually pretty low, I feel like. I feel like the new ACFT has pretty low standards to where it's easy to pass and harder to max though. But if you can't pass those ones, they usually give you multiple opportunities. And if after multiple opportunities you still can't pass the fitness test, then they might pursue like kicking you out of the Army. They probably won't reclass you. Usually the only time they reclass you is if maybe you can't pass the AIT for that MOS. So like you're trying to do medical, you're trying to do 68 whiskey, and you just can't pass like the medical tests and the other evaluations you have to do even after being recycled a few times or whatever, then they might make you reclass to a different MOS. For physical fitness, they're going to give you multiple opportunities, and if you can't pass for the physical fitness, they're probably just going to, kick you out of the Army. It'll probably be a general discharge or something like that. It won't be like a dishonorable. Dishonorable discharges are only usually reserved for like when you commit crimes, those kind of things. But it'll probably be like a general discharge or something like that. Did you ever work with 12 Bravos? It's one of many MOSs I'm looking into. Really anything combat arms like ADA or FAVE or entry or artillery. 12 Bravos, combat engineers, right? Not really. There'd be a little bit of things that I would see them doing some stuff, and they'd be in our areas, and sometimes they do a little bit here and there, but not really. I don't have a whole lot of experience working with 12 Bravos or anything like that. And then as far as you're looking at doing like ADA or infantry or artillery or something like that, I mean, like, I know a lot of people that are infantry, and they say that it kind of sucks if you're not deployed, because when you're not deployed, you're just doing nothing but training or crappy details and taskings. So sometimes that kind of sucks. So it just kind of depends on your unit and what's going on. You actually become like a transportation coordinator or film productions. Considering your long Army experience, companies see people with long Army experience. It'd probably be fun. Right now I'm an instructor. I enjoy being an instructor. I teach soldiers, so that's fun for now. I think once I move on to something else beyond that, I'm hoping it'll be like maybe my own, doing this full time or some kind of my own business type of thing, hopefully. But for now, I enjoy teaching soldiers, so it's fun, it's good, and I enjoy being an instructor. Any advice for someone joining as 11 X-ray with option 40? Make sure you're in good shape. That's pretty much for any MOS, really, just going to basic training. Then option 40 is at the Ranger contract, so definitely be in really good shape. Make sure you're good at land nav, all that kind of stuff. I'm headed to MEPS Tuesday for physical and enlistment. Hope everything works out. Well, good luck to you. Hopefully it all works out, but yeah. MEPS is just a lot of stations, right? There's no good tips or anything for MEPS. You just have to go from station to station and do the different tests that they have you go through, and evaluations, and then at the very end, then you finally get evaluated to see what MOSs you qualify for, and hopefully you get the MOS that you're looking for and all that kind of fun stuff. So awesome stuff. If you guys have not yet hit the like button on the stream, you're having a good time, you're enjoying it, hit that thumbs up for me. I greatly appreciate it. If you weren't here at the beginning of the stream, a little bit of promo, right? I have a book to teach you how to mess with your NCOs. All right, so you get this book when you go in the Army, or if you're already in the Army, and it gives you the tips for how to mess with your NCOs and get away with it. How do you mess with them, you may ask? Well, it's just a notebook, all right? So you have this sitting on your desk in your barracks room or in class or whatever, and they think that you got this book to mess with them. Really, it's just a notebook, right? And I got several more notebooks I'm working on. It should be a new one probably tomorrow. It'll be available on Amazon. But if you do a search on Amazon for Christopher Chaos, I believe this is the top result, and you'll find this guy here, and then there's gonna be some more coming along, all with that same kind of concept of being some kind of funny looking book that looks like a funny manual, but it's really just a notebook because you have to have something to write with at all times when you're in the Army. So why not have a cool Christopher Chaos notebook? All right. Have a good one. Have a good night. Well, thanks, Joshua or Jonathan. Did I say Joshua earlier? If I did, I'm sorry about that. See, it's Jonathan, right? Would you ever consider going back in just the reserves? No, I like being a civilian. I like my civilian job. I like the lifestyle of a civilian. You know, the Army was okay. I didn't even mean to do it for as long as I did. It just kind of happened to go that way that it did. I don't really necessarily regret it. I mean, there might have been some things I might have done differently, knowing what I know now, but going back in isn't really something I'm really interested in, so I wouldn't want to go back into the Army. 5-mile run in 40 minutes for option 40, I read. Maybe. I don't know for sure, but you know, it's good to have a good, you know, run time. What is the process to change your MOS, and how hard / long does it take? So there's only a few options you have to try to change your MOS. The most common one is you re-enlist to reclass. So let's say you do whatever MOS you start off with, let's say, and you have a 4-year contract. Well, typically 1 year before your contract ends is when you're eligible for re-enlistment. So technically you just do 3 years in the Army or whatever in that MOS, and then when 3 years comes up and you're eligible to re-enlist, you can try to reclass to another MOS. But you have to qualify for that MOS based on your ASVAB scores. If you don't, then you have to retake the ASVAB to bring your score up, so you do. And then there also has to be availability for that MOS. So that can be a challenge, right? This is mainly for active duty. For reserve and National Guard, it's even harder to get reclass. Active duty, a little bit easier because there's a larger pool to kind of choose from. Where National Guard and Reserve, you have to have a specific slot for that MOS available in your unit, or try to transfer to another unit that does have available slots, where active duty is a little bit easier. So that is the most common way that people will reclass to another MOS, is they'll re-enlist for it, to choose to stay in the Army longer, to switch MOSs. The other way, less common way, is if you're in an MOS that's over strength, they have too many people at a lower enlisted level in that MOS, then sometimes they will offer people to reclass to an MOS that, you know, they want to choose or they want to go to, that they qualify for, and they'll allow them to do that early. And sometimes you get that option to do that. That's a little bit more rare of a situation, but that's another situation. Like I said, the most common one is someone re-enlist for it. Can be simple-ish on the active duty side, but a lot harder on the Reserve or National Guard side. Good stuff from a prior Army soldier. Awesome, James. Do you think it would be possible to save more than 50% of your salary as a single soldier that lives in the barracks and spend little on living expenses? Also, did you save when you were in? You could. It just depends on how your finances are, what bills you have. You know, most commonly people have, you know, single soldiers might have a cell phone bill, maybe an internet bill. And if that's all you have, maybe you have a car that you bought because you had some money, you know, prior to going to the Army, you bought some cheapo car that gets you from place to place. Because sometimes you know, you don't necessarily have to have a car, but sometimes it does make it a lot easier having a vehicle. Then yeah, maybe you might be able to do 50%. It just depends on what kind of expenses you have. And did I save when I was in? Not really. I did when I went on my first deployment and everything, and I was able to pay off my car while I was on a deployment and have a bunch of money saved up to, you know, build up my camera equipment a little bit, because I was already into doing video production then, and have a lot of fun, and nothing really useful. I didn't like store it away in a savings account for like later in life or anything like that. It eventually went to something, you know, some of it went to good. Like I said, paying off my car early was good. But no, I didn't really have a really good savings plan. I kind of lived, for a while, lived paycheck to paycheck, because I was a little irresponsible, you know, and having a lot of fun and everything like that. But as I got older and got a little bit more experience under my belt, started getting a little bit more, you know, smarter about my finances and being a little bit better about it. But I still didn't really save much other than when I was deployed my first time. I can see the NCOs getting the last laugh and smoking the person who has the notebook. Maybe, but like, it's not really like, maybe if you're in like an infantry unit, they might be kind of a little bit butthurt about, like, you know, you have this laying around or something like that, they might want to mess with you. Nothing really serious, you know. They're not going to be super pissed. They might mess with you and maybe do some push-ups, something like that. But for the most part, people are probably just going to think it's funny. It's not really like it is in basic training anymore once you get out of the Army. I wouldn't recommend having this in basic training, no. But once you get to an actual unit, this would probably be, you know, fun to have and good. But yeah. You called me Joshua instead of Jonathan? Well, let's see. I apologize then. I probably read it too fast. Just saw the J in there. Sorry about that. Sergeant Mendoza. We'll go with that because I remember you said you're a Sergeant Mendoza. For the musician in West, do they consider people who can sing death metal have good growl and scream? I'd sing Disturbed to win the recruiter over. Probably not. Like, singing is a thing you can do because they that is part of like the MOS because they want people who can sing, and so they do like these little morale type of concerts or whatever for soldiers, and they usually are like basically like cover bands. Really is what they really are, and they usually want someone who has a larger diversity of singing abilities. If you could sing other stuff, then it might help, and if you could do that and softer stuff, more of the popular hits, then maybe sure you'd be okay, because some people probably want to hear, you know, maybe things like, you know, some of the rock or the metal or Disturbed or whatever, right? Then maybe it could work out. But you'd probably have to be a little bit more diverse and be able to do other things as well, and not just that. I don't think you'd be able to pass the interview with just that, because the recruiter kind of sets you up for it. Like, the recruiter isn't the one who is the one interviewing you or doing the audition. You go with some other individuals and do an audition for that MOS, and you usually have to be a pretty well-established person. A lot of those individuals already have like degrees from college in music. Not always, but most commonly, a lot of those people already have that. They go into that MOS. What were your favorite unit activities or mandatory fun days? Any good memories? There was occasionally we'd do some barbecue stuff that was pretty cool. A lot of times those barbecues came like after the end of like a fitness week. Like, you'd have like for example on Fort Carson they'd have like Kit Carson week. Now I think they call it Ivy week, or I forget what they call it now. I think it's Ivy week now. But you have a whole week of a bunch of sports that you're having to play against other units and everything like that. And then usually at the end they have a big barbecue. And that big barbecue was kind of fun. You're kind of hanging out and enjoying some free barbecue food and everything like that in civilian clothes. So you're not having to be in uniform anymore. So some of those barbecues were kind of fun. We'd have a few other ones like that. Sometimes you do ones that were like to raise money for like FRG, and those were kind of fun little events that they would try to get you to participate in. The barbecues were usually probably the funner ones that I can think of anyways, offhand. I'm the type of person to be in the Army and blow all my money on Red Cinema camera and an expensive lens shoulder rig. So after my first deployment, I bought a Canon XL2. At that time, that camera was pretty expensive. Not as expensive as a Red camera, but at that time, that camera was about $8,000-$9,000. So I spent $9,000, I think it was. I think I actually spent $10,000 because it came with a kit. It came with the camera, it came with a case, it came with a bunch of other attachments and everything like that. And I think I spent $10,000 on that kit. That camera, I still have that camera because I don't want to get rid of it, I guess, even though I never use it. But that camera is now only worth maybe $800, maybe $500. But because I spent so much money on that damn camera, I can't get rid of it. But I ended up, you know, blowing a good chunk of the money that I had saved up from my deployment on a really nice camera at that time, right? That was like the main camera that people would use for like documentaries. That was actually the camera that they would use a lot of times for Jackass, when they were filming Jackass for the TV show. Viva La Bam was filmed with that type of camera. So a lot of TV shows were being filmed with that camera. But I kind of jumped into that game around the time frame when HD cameras were starting to become a thing. They weren't yet really super popular. They were still really expensive. But because I caught it at the end of the standard definition era, and just as the HD definition area of cameras were becoming more affordable, I kind of ended up kind of screwing myself on that. So, yeah. Didn't get the notification. Oh man, T-Dog. You just gotta remember, 7:30 Thursdays. That's Colorado time. So whatever time zone you live in, you gotta adjust for your time zone. But 7:30 every Thursday is the new schedule for the live stream. So whether you get the alerts or not, just remember, if you want to be here and you're not too sure you're going to get the alert, 7:30 on Thursdays for Colorado time, Mountain Standard Time, right? So adjust accordingly based on your time zone. What happens if I qualify for MOS I want, but my state National Guard doesn't have it? Do I just go for another MOS or what? I think I'm not 100% sure for like Reserve or National Guard if the slot isn't available. They might not even offer it to you if it's not available. They might tell you, okay, that MOS is not available because there's no slots for you to fall in on. So you're gonna have to either go somewhere else for drill weekends, or you're gonna have to choose another MOS. I'm not too sure. That'd probably be a better question to probably ask a recruiter, because like I said, I was active duty, so it works a little bit differently. I don't really know everything. I know some things here and there from the Reserve National Guard side, but not everything. That's something I'm not really too familiar with, so I don't know really how well it'll work. I'm having my medical examination tomorrow at MEPS. Kind of nervous. Hope it's a cool process. Heard they scare you over there. Is that true? Not really. I mean, it's just a medical process of them checking you out to make sure you're fit to be in the military, make sure you're not going to get injured or you don't have any pre-existing injuries that are going to resurface and cause some problems. So a lot of it is just for your safety, for their investment, to make sure they're not investing, in sending you to basic training for you just to get injured after doing a few exercises or doing a little bit of training here and there. But they shouldn't be intimidating or anything like that. I've never ever heard of that really, or seen that from the experience I ever had. It's just really just going from station to station and them evaluating you to make sure you're fit to be in the Army or in the military for that matter, really, because MEPS is for military in general. How was the barracks? Barracks were all right. When I first came in the Army, they were really crappy. As I went through the Army, as time went on, the barracks started getting better and better. Now they're pretty nice for the most part. There might be a few units here and there, a few locations that have older barracks that maybe aren't as good, but I'd say the majority of the barracks are really pretty nice. It's usually like the most common layout that most units have is you walk into the room first. You usually have key cards like hotels. They used to have keys when I did and everything like that. Now they're kind of going away from that, and they have key cards, most barracks do. And so you have a key card that opens up the door, and then you have a common area when you first go in there. It's a smaller area that's kind of like a little small mini kitchen with a bathroom over here, and then probably 2 more doors in front of you. That's probably your room and your roommate's room. So you each have your own room, and that makes it a little bit nicer. And inside the room has a bed, a little entertainment center, a pretty big closet for all your gear and all your clothes and everything like that. And then any electronics you want, you have to provide all that stuff, obviously. And then if you're a non-commissioned officer, you usually get one of those rooms to yourself, kind of a thing, depending on the availability. So yeah, the barracks have gotten really, really nice compared to like when I first came in the Army. It was just an open room that you have multiple people inside of there, and sometimes you had to separate your private space with a sheet or a wall locker or something like that, and then you had to go down the hall to use the bathroom and use the showers. Not so much like that anymore. I wouldn't be really surprised if there was any barracks still like that anymore. What state am I in? I'm in Colorado. Red is used by like a ton of blockbusters. Yeah. And yeah, I know like they use the red actually on like The Social Network. They have a lot of other pretty good movies that I've seen them use red cameras on. Red cameras are nice. They're just really, really pricey. I think they start off like 10 grand for the cheapest ones, and but most of them I think are like 15 or 20 grand or something like that. I know they're expensive as crap. How long does it take to be able to use your GI Bill for college in the National Guard? National Guard, I'm not sure. I did it on active duty when I got out of the Army, and I was able to use it pretty much right away once I got out. Chris, you should play America's Army Proving Grounds. It's free PlayStation 4 and PC. I had it for the PC. I think I uninstalled it. I might at some point maybe switch to that. I'm enjoying playing Modern Warfare still. I'll probably continue playing that for a while, but I will at some point probably switch it up a little bit and maybe do other kind of ones. I actually played the original America's Army when it first came out. That was back in like the early 2000s. I was in Korea, and me and my buddies used to play it, and that was fun. But yeah. All right, so we're at an hour into the live stream, so I'm going to go backwards into the chat. I'm going to see what I can find as far as maybe a question that I missed. Then I'll come back to the beginning of the chat and see if there's a good question, maybe 2 or so, to end the stream on, and we'll get close to in this live stream. So let me see if I can find something pretty far back in the chat that maybe I missed. It's a good question that maybe I skipped over. Let's see if I can find something. I see some of these are good ones that I already answered though. Not find anything yet. Scroll down a little bit more. We'll do this one. How much combat does combat videographers see? I would love to make a documentary about war and how it affects humanity. Plus, I want to get a adrenaline rush. How much they see, I guess it just depends on the unit you're in. A lot of those people, they get attached to units, so it depends on your job, right? Some of those people get stuck with doing a lot of photography stuff, so it's not really set to always be video or photography. It's a mixture of both, and just depends on the unit as far as if you get stuck doing more photo stuff or you get the opportunity to do more video stuff, and that kind of varies. But for those people who do the video stuff, sometimes you might get lucky and you get attached to a unit, and then whenever they go out on mission, you're just with them documenting everything that's happening and capturing whatever happens on that mission, and then they use that to maybe either for educational videos, for some kind of motivational video, or whatever it is that they have in mind they want to do. But there's no real set thing as far as how often they deploy. That just kind of depends on the unit I think you're assigned to and what is going on at that time frame as well. So it seems like it'd be kind of fun, probably. I've seen some of those people where there was a couple times where we went on a mission and we had a photographer with us that kind of followed us around, and we were doing some missions and they were taking pictures. I don't think I ever had a situation where there's a video person following us around, but yeah, it seemed like it was really cool. Okay, so we'll answer a few newer questions and we're cutting off this live stream. So, what are the rules regarding TVs and video game systems on base? There's no real rules. Like, you can't really have that stuff when you're basic training AIT. Some of the longer AITs might get a little bit relaxed towards the end unless you have like laptops or something like that. But as far as, you know, when you're in the barracks, if you want to get a big ass TV and put it in your room and have an Xbox and a PlayStation and a PC, there's no restrictions on any of that kind of stuff. So you're allowed to do that. So there's a lot of people that did that. I did that. I didn't have really necessarily a big TV, but I had like a PlayStation. A lot of people I knew had, you know, Xboxes, you know, and we, you know, sometimes have gaming nights or whatever on the weekends, you know, and everything like that. So there's no real restrictions with that or anything like that. Do basic training stories video? I could do some. I think I did a quick video about like an overall summary of my basic training, and then I also did a video showing my basic training because I had the VHS tape, which is actually right back here. If you look right, let's see if I can navigate here. Right there, that is a VHS tape for my basic training that I converted to digital and did a video reaction to my basic training. You can see me in it twice, real briefly. But as far as specific stories, yeah, that could be something cool. Chris, thoughts on U.S. Space Force so far? I haven't really seen a whole lot about it, but that's really just a side shoot of the Air Force, really. It's really just taking a job that is normally done by the Air Force and making it its own thing, right? And that's really, it seems like all they're doing, dealing with satellites and everything like that. Should play Battlefield. I have Battlefield 5, and I might go back to doing something like that, maybe. I don't know. What am I wearing? A long sleeve sweater shirt from Affliction, I think. And a DC hat. All right. Is that gonna be the last question? We're gonna end on what am I wearing? Yeah, I think so. But again, before we end the live stream, check out my book on Amazon. Looks funny. It's awesome. How to mess with your NCOs. It's a notebook. Take notes. It's awesome. All right, $5.99 on Amazon. But I also have more coming if you want to wait and see what some of the other titles are going to be called. That's cool too. I have one that should be going live tomorrow, and I have several more that are in the works that I'm building cool covers for that I'll be releasing on Amazon soon. If you do a search for ThatChrisChaos on Amazon, I believe it'll be the first result will pop up with that book. All right, so be on the lookout for other ones too, so you can see those ones. Buying a house with BAH. The risky part about buying a house when you're still in the military is if you get orders to go somewhere else, you have to now decide what you're going to do with your house. Are you going to continue paying the mortgage on that house and have to pay extra because now you have another house you have to live in at a new duty station, but you're still paying on the other one? Are you going to rent out that house? Are you going to sell that house? So that becomes really tricky when you're still in the Army if you try to buy a house and you want to use your BAH to pay for your mortgage. I usually recommend waiting until you're about to get out of the Army. Like if you're gonna stay in that area, then maybe you want to buy a house like I did. I wanted to stay in Colorado, so when my last duty station was Fort Carson, when I was about a year out from getting out of the Army, I went ahead and bought a house because I knew I was gonna stay in this area. Or if you know you're gonna be going somewhere else, maybe you can start looking into a house in that area and do it that way. But it's really risky to go and buy a house while you're currently in the military, because if you get assigned somewhere else, then you have to figure out what you're gonna do with that house. So I think that'll be the question we end on and everything like that. If I did not get to all of your questions and you still have more that you want to know about, you're just dying to know about, hit me up on Instagram. All right, all you have to do is do a search, go to Instagram, search for ThatChrisChaos. You can find me on there. You can shoot me a message. I'm pretty good at messaging almost everybody, so you have a very high chance that I will message you back. So find me on Instagram, hit me up with your questions, and I can hopefully answer them from there. You can wait until next Thursday. I'll be back on Thursday for a Q&A. Monday, we'll have Modern Warfare Monday. We'll play some Modern Warfare. You can add me on Activision if you play Modern Warfare and you want to jump in on one of the games. You can do so. It's just ThatChrisChaos. There's no numbers on the end for the Activision, so you add me through Activision, not through the console, through the Activision account, and you can add me through there, and you can jump in on some of the games maybe, and we'll play on Monday. So make sure to come back Monday to hang out for Modern Warfare Monday. And then I got a new video tomorrow, so you have a new video tomorrow to check out and all that kind of fun stuff. So if you guys did not already, hit that likes button, hit that thumbs up for me. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. You're awesome. You rock. And I will see you guys next time. See ya.